There was a lawyer once. His name was Francis Scott Key. He penned a song that I'm sure you're aware of. You've seen it. It's in most hymnals throughout our churches. It's called the National Anthem. It is our song as an American. We go, however, to a ball game. We stand in our church services and we sing the words of that song, and they float over our minds and our lips, and we don't even realize what we're singing. Most of us have memorized it as a child, but we've never really thought about what it means. Let me tell you a story. Francis Scott Key was a lawyer in Baltimore. The colonies were engaged in vicious conflict with the mother country, Britain. Because of this conflict and the protractedness of it, they had accumulated prisoners on both sides. The American colonies had prisoners and the British had prisoners. And the American government initiated a move. They went to the British and they said, let us negotiate for the release of these prisoners. They said, we want to send a man out to discuss this with you. They were holding the American prisoners in boats about 1,000 yards offshore. And they said, we want to send a man by the name of Francis Scott Key. He will come out and negotiate to see if we can make a mutual exchange. On the appointed day, in a rowboat, he went out to this boat and he negotiated with the British officials. And they reached a conclusion that men could be exchanged on a one-for-one basis. Francis Scott Key, jubilant with the fact that he'd been successful, went down below in the boats, and what he found was a cargo hold full of humanity, men. And he said, men, I've got news for you tonight. You're free. He said, tonight I have negotiated successfully your return to the colonies. He said, you'll be taken out of this boat, out of this filth, out of your chains. As he went back up on board to arrange for their passage to the shore, the admiral came and he said, we have a slight problem. He said, we will still honor our commitment to release these men, but it'll be merely academic after tonight. It won't matter. And Francis Scott Key said, what do you mean? He said, well, Mr. Key, he said, tonight we have laid an ultimatum upon the colonies. Your people will either capitulate and lay down the colors of that flag that you think so much of, or you see that fort right over there, Fort Henry? He said, we're going to remove it from the face of the earth. He said, how are you going to do that? He said, if you will, scan the horizon of the sea. And as he looked, he could see hundreds of little dots. And he said, that's the entire British war fleet. He said, all of the gunpowder, all of the armament is being called upon to demolish that fort. It will be here within striking distance in a matter of about 2.5 hours. He said, the war is over. These men would be free anyway. He said, you can't shell that fort. He said, that's a large fort. He said, it's full of women and children. He says, it's predominantly not a military fort. They said, don't worry about it. They said, we've left them a way out. And he said, what's that? He said, do you see that flag way up on the rampart? He said, we have told them that if they will lower that flag, the shelling will stop immediately. And we'll know that they've surrendered, and you'll now be under British rule. Francis Scott Key went down below and told the men what was about to happen. And they said, how many ships? He said, hundreds. The ships got closer. Francis Scott Key went back up on top and he said, men, I'll shout down to you what's going on as we watch. As twilight began to fall, and as the haze hung over the ocean as it does at sunset, suddenly the British war fleet unleashed. He says the sound was deafening. There were so many guns that there were no reliefs. He said it was absolutely impossible to talk or hear. He said suddenly the sky, although dark, was suddenly lit. And he says from down below, all he could hear the men, the prisoners, saying was, tell us where the flag is. What have they done with the flag? Is the flag still flying over the rampart? Tell us. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours into the shelling. Every time the bomb would explode and it would be close to the flag, they could see the flag in the illuminated red glare of that bomb, and Francis Scott Key would report down to the men below, it's still up. It's not down. admiral came and he said, "Your people are insane." He said, "What's the matter with them?" He said, "Don't they understand this is an impossible situation?" Francis Scott Key said he remembered what George Washington had said. He said, "The thing that sets the American Christian apart from all other people in the world is he will die on his feet before he'll live on his knees." The admiral said, "We have now instructed all of the guns to focus on the rampart to take that flag down." He said, "We don't understand something. Our reconnaissance tells us that that flag has been hit directly again and again and again, and yet it's still flying. We don't understand that." But he said, "Now we're about to bring every gun for the next 3 hours to bear on that point." Francis Scott Key said the barrage was unmerciful. All that he could hear was the men down below praying. The prayer, "God, keep that flag flying where we last saw it." Sunrise came. He said there was a heavy mist hanging over the land, but the rampart was tall enough. There stood the flag, completely nondescript, in shreds. The flagpole itself was at a crazy angle, but the flag was still at the top. Francis Scott Key went aboard and immediately went into Fort Henry to see what had happened. And what he'd found had happened was that that flagpole and that flag had suffered repetitious direct hits. And when it had fallen, but men, fathers, who knew what it meant for that flag to be on the ground, although knowing that all of the British guns were trained on it, walked over and held it up humanly until they died. Their bodies were removed and others took their place. Francis Scott Key said what held that flagpole in place at that unusual angle were patriots' bodies. He penned the song, "Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming. Or the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that the flag was still there. Oh, say, does that Star Spangled Banner yet fly and wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? The debt was demanded. The price, it was paid."
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets break clear, the bombs bursting of those rays.
Well, I would like to welcome you to AMVETS Tennessee Radio, number 10. Gordon, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing real good, Perry, and I am so glad that you played that special edition of the national anthem. That should be played in every school and throughout.
Powerful.
It is powerful. It really is.
Listen, when you sent that to me today, I knew what we needed to do.
Oh yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
And what's amazing about that video is that, you know, we sing the Star Spangled Banner so nonchalantly. Many of us don't even know the story of how that was written and how that happened, and I was one of them. And just listening to that again, man, talk about a humbling experience.
I guarantee you that has every veteran and every military personnel has stopped to listen to that tonight. I guarantee it.
We're going to share that video on AMVETSTennessee.org. You have my word. That is.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's
well,
a must.
Here we are, show 10. Why don't you tell the audience who our guests are tonight, and let's get this show started.
We have Ralph Land from Post 1776. He's a charter member of that post there in Nashville. Was quite instrumental in starting that post, and instrumental in a lot of things here in Department of Tennessee for the AMVETS. Mr. Bill Kilgore, he is a past department commander, a past national commander. He is currently with the NEC, National Executive Committee. He's also on the committee, a bunch of committees here in the state of Tennessee. Very good person, very knowledgeable of the AMVETS. And we have our state representative, John Forgety. He's a retired Army First Sergeant. He was also in the Tennessee National Guard, served our country proudly, and he is still serving as a representative for us in the state of Tennessee. Welcome, gentlemen.
Now, before we get our first guest on, we did receive some news today. Are we at liberty to share it? Are you wanting to share that news, or do you want to wait?
No, we're going to wait. We'll let everybody know next week once I get some phone calls, and then we're going to surprise everybody, and we'll just keep them in suspense over the weekend, and then they'll find out next Friday when we have our show, and it's going to be quite exciting what the AMVETS Tennessee Radio is doing. So it's, what do you say we get started?
It's huge news. That's all I have to say. Something that neither one of us expected. Now, who would you like to put on first?
Let's have Mr. Ralph Land. I'm sure he has. He represents the AMVETS and all the other organizations over there in Nashville when our House of Representatives is over there, and I'm sure he has a lot of questions to ask John Forgety, and plus he can keep us up on what his post has been doing. I know they, on the 4th of July, they've gone around to a lot of veterans' homes and everything, visiting, and let's hear it for Ralph.
Ralph, how you doing, sir?
Pretty good, John. How you all doing? Are you there?
We're doing good.
Good. Thank you for that, Gordon.
Well, Ralph, you're a good man. You know, we're really proud to have you in the AMVETS and proud of what you do for veterans and all of us.
Well, glad to do it. It's something that needs to be done. Sometimes our legislators, except for Mr. Representative Forgety, who I talked to earlier today, a very good man who's probably one of the few that stuck by us through our property tax relief of being downsized and then bringing it back to where it was 3 years ago. And I appreciate and applaud his efforts all the way down the line. He was one of the few that understood what needed to be done and so forth and stuck by his guns. And that's very much appreciated by the veterans in the state of Tennessee. He's done an excellent job and has not gotten the recognition he needs to get. We've recognized him over here, and he's done a great job for us, and we're looking forward to some great things in the future.
John's a good man. I talked to him on the 4th of July on our celebration that we had downtown here in Athens. He was there, and he does. He looks out for the veterans. He looks out for the communities, veterans' families, and he's a proud Army veteran and National Guard veteran, and I know he looks out for all of us. And like you said, he isn't recognized enough. He really needs to be, and I'd love to see him just keep on going and going forward in the state of Tennessee and possibly moving up to governor. I asked him, but he said no, but I'd love to see a bunch of people behind him and do that.
Well, that would be up to him. He's, like I said, he's a good man and a good patriot and has served his country very well for a long time, so we appreciate everything that he's doing and continues to do. Him and I talked about some new things today, maybe some new legislation for the property tax relief, and he kind of liked the idea. It's a law that's been in effect in Florida for about 25 years at least. And if anybody wanted to look at it, they can go to Florida Department of Veterans Affairs and look it up and so forth. It's on their website. And it'll explain everything to anybody that wants to know. But something that him and I are discussing and possibility for us going forward with this new session coming up. We'll just have to wait and see.
Excellent. I know John will work hard for it. Mr. Forgety always does, and like you said, he's one of the few that looks after the veterans here in the state of Tennessee.
Yeah, we've got a lot of veteran legislators. Not a lot, but we've got about 20. I don't know if we got 28 like we had. I don't remember what the number was last year. But we've got more people, more of the legislators involved and so forth, and they've kind of band together and everything, which is a good thing for us because we bring a lot of revenue into the state of Tennessee, and we're not trying to get any Tennessee taxpayers paying for any of our stuff. It's coming out of our money that we're bringing into the state of Tennessee, which makes a big difference. So we're not asking for the taxpayers to take and fund these things.
Some people don't realize and don't know exactly what you're talking about, Ralph. I do. How about explaining that to the people that are listening? That way they know exactly what you're talking about, the amount of funds that we veterans do bring into the state of Tennessee. Right.
I'll be glad to. We brought in last year $4.1 billion. That's a B with a B, $1 billion into the state of Tennessee just on the VA side. And that's the money that comes from the federal government to fund everything in the state of Tennessee for the VA, including pensions for the veterans. So out of that, we're paying sales tax. And that sales tax is right at 9.25. Well, 9.25% is the exact amount. But for figure sakes, I just rounded off to 10 so everybody can get a visual of it. So 10% of every dollar that we spend in the state of Tennessee goes to taxes. And then that also gets taxed 13 times. So these are disabled dollars coming to the veteran of the state of Tennessee and for construction and education and so forth and everything else. So out of that $401 billion that all the veterans organizations and a lot of them like AMVETS and DAV and VBA and so forth pay their service officers to take and help do the claims and stuff like this to bring these dollars in and so forth. So, and a lot of them volunteer for free. So it's a lot of veterans that are doing a lot of this stuff to bring this kind of revenue into the state of Tennessee and help their fellow veterans. So that totals out at the $4.1 billion to be about $401 million at 10%. So out of that, on our program for property tax relief, we're talking about $37 to $38 million. Now, out of that, that's to cover 16,000 100% disabled veterans, and also that covers about 90-something thousand poor people out of both of those piles of money that's been there. And if you took that $38 million and subtracted that from the $400 million in sales tax, that still leaves $360 million for the state to use, which I think last year it come up to about, we're 12% of the state budget on the amount of revenue we bring in the state of Tennessee. Now, that does not include military retired pay, National Guard pay, reservist pay, Fort Campbell, those people up there spending money at Millington, Tullahoma, and so forth. So, and then the retired pay from all the military that's coming in the state of Tennessee, and those numbers could be, we just don't have a figure that we could put with that. The only thing we've got is the figures from the Veterans Administration. So that's a lot of money that the veterans are bringing into the state of Tennessee to take care of their own and help take care of other Tennesseans, and especially the poor people, over 65 that can't pay the property tax relief. So we're helping out a bunch on that. Does that make it kind of a little bit clear, I hope?
It does. I understand it quite well. Doing math is something that I used to pop in my head very easily. I understand everything. I am a former employee of the federal government in the state of Florida, and so I do understand a lot of things. But this needed to be explained to the public out there so that they understand that that tax relief that Representative John Forgety was instrumental in helping get passed through back to what it was really doesn't
Correct.
amount to anything. I mean, the state of Tennessee really lost nothing. It's it's kind of a shame that the governor did that with his cutting of all the different departments and everything else. It's kind of a shame that took place. But we just have to live through those things. Try to get it back to where it was. It took us 3 years and a hard fight to do it with our legislators and our representatives and senators both, and the veterans and all the ones on the Hill, the other groups that have come up and stood up and made the phone calls and called their legislators and so forth and expressed their opinions and what they want as us as American soldiers and veterans in the state of Tennessee. So we're not asking any Tennessean any money coming out of their pocket. We just want a little bit of our money that we're bringing in to take care of our people. Exactly. That and like I said, it didn't cost the state of Tennessee really nothing. I mean, it's that is money that we have brought in, and it's like you said, the governor should have never did that a few years back and cut our tax relief, because there's so many veterans out there that really couldn't afford it because they weren't getting really that much to begin with.
It was a great thing. We've had it on the books since 1973, and every governor has gone along with it till we got to this one here. And like I said, I don't understand. I've talked with him, but I didn't understand to me. But the first year, $100 million of our dollars went to the school teachers, and then $100 million went to retirement and workers for the state of Tennessee, Then the next year it was $100 million to the school teachers and $50 million to the schools for undocumented children, illegal children in the state of Tennessee. So that kind of fries everybody on a little bit of stuff, and it's tough for us to get the word out. We were lucky enough to have a new reporter in town that is getting stuff out there, and through that and through our efforts this year, the reporter's getting a lot of people calling him and asking him how to apply for it. And I had somebody in Knoxville call me got me on my Facebook, and then I told him to call me. He'd been with heart problems, disabled since 2003, and thanked me for the work that I did. And I said, well, there's a lot of people involved, not just me. And he informed me that he never knew about the property tax relief. So since in 2003 until now, he could have had property tax relief, and he's never gotten a dime. So that cost him about $18,000 over those years that he was not able to take and get it because he didn't know about it.
And he won't get it back either. That's the sad thing.
No, we don't have any grandfathers in that stuff, and you don't get it until you file and you pay out your first year, and then you get the money back, sent back to you after that. So it's a little, it's probably not set up the best way it could be set up because you got your trustees across the state of Tennessee and you got your county governments and so forth that they have to get their budgets in a certain length of time, and then hopefully that revenue is going to come back to them that they're putting out, and that kind of puts them under a bad situation if they have to go and look for raising other revenues. And our brother Bill Kilgore understands that, and so does John Forgety, because Bill's going to be doing stuff with commissioners, and he knows how that all works. So it's just not, to me, in my opinion, it's just not set up the correct way to be able to be handled properly. And that's just my opinion.
Well, it's, the thing is we have something that's set up that it might not be the best, but we have to do what we can with it, and there's always room for improvement, and that's why we have people like Mr. Forgety in office so that he can make the changes to improve things for everybody.
Right, and it takes all of us for some of this stuff to happen to realize there is a problem, and you get to see the other side of, like the trustees are explaining it to me, and I said, wow, I didn't know it was set up that way. And I said, well, we just need to try to change this stuff and everything else. But, it all takes time when you try to bring everybody together and get everybody educated and get everybody on the same page, and it's not always the easiest thing to do. We try our best, but with this radio show, this is going to be helping us out, more information out to our veterans in the state of Tennessee.
Exactly. That's why we're doing it. And, it's like you said, this radio show is going to help all the veterans realize what's going on, and they can call their representatives, to see what they can do and to help Mr. Forgety along with getting things straightened out for us.
Yeah,
hey,
one
Gordon,
thing I'm going to, yeah, go ahead.
No, the only thing I was saying, after you make your point, Ralph, what are you guys thinking about putting John on with Ralph? Because, obviously you guys together have a lot of information that needs to be heard.
No, I think that's an excellent idea.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me get him. Hey, John, you there?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. Sir, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and welcome to AMVETS Tennessee Radio.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me.
John, you're a good man. I appreciate all you do there in your job for the veterans and for the people in the state of Tennessee. You do an excellent job.
Well, thank you, sir. It's a privilege to do it for the old veterans and for the citizens and constituents of the 23rd House Legislative District. Incidentally, a little sidebar here, I called in at 8 o'clock and heard the rendition about Francis Scott Key and all of that, and what a magnificent way to start a program. If you can listen to that and not get teary-eyed, there's something wrong. I was really impressed with that, and I like it. So kudos to you guys for doing that.
No, thank you. Thank you. I heard that, and I said that to Perry. I said, this has got to get on the show.
And see, I never heard that before. I mean, I have never heard that.
I have never either, and I really appreciate it because I was glad because it took me about 5 minutes before I came on, and I had to get the tears out of my eyes after listening.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Well,
absolutely.
As a matter of fact, after the national anthem played, I mean, it took every bit of me to even say welcome to AMVETS Radio because of just, again, I'm 46 years old. I'm a son of a vet. And, you know, people just they have no clue where this story came from. And so anybody who serves, matter of fact, tonight I'm going to post that video on the AMVETS Tennessee or Facebook page as well as the website. So if y'all want to share it, you'll be able to share it. And again, just very powerful.
It was indeed. I have heard the story, but never so eloquently and never as colorfully as that, and that is very special.
It is special, and like I said, I would like to see that played in the schools, in all the schools, but especially the grade schools, so that the kids can understand that. I know this coming year when we go and do the Americanism program for the AMVETS at the schools, I am definitely going to have this played over the loudspeakers. That is something that is a must.
Well, that's great.
Well, that's a great idea because I think it was last year, John, you can correct me on this, that in the Veterans Caucus we had, maybe not last year, year before, the Congressional Medal of Honor new foundation come in, and they are paying for these programs to be put back in the schools. And the foundation is paying it, so there's no Tennessee tax dollars that are doing that. And this might be a conjunction thing to go along with that. This is suggested.
Incidentally, to that end, and a little sidebar here, I want to lobby you guys publicly. I am involved with the Military Child Coalition in the state of Tennessee with Major General Max Haston is my old boss when he hired me as first sergeant at regimental headquarters and headquarters troop in Knoxville, Tennessee, prior to being deployed to the Persian Gulf. General Haston's wife runs the Military Child Coalition effort, and what it is, and I'm kind of taking advantage of you guys here, but it's an effort to take care of the children of soldiers who are on active duty that have so many special issues. And I filed a budget amendment to try to get them some assets, some resources to operate in the state of Tennessee, because when a soldier is deployed, a military person, man or woman, is deployed in service to their country, many times, I know I was on active duty, approximately 20 months, was in out of my home 16, 18 months, something like that. Soldiers are, too, that have young children, and those children may have special issues because of the absence of one of the parents. So that said, that was an unpaid advertisement from an old soldier trying to look after the kids, the little ones of those soldiers who are defending us as we speak.
Well, we need to take care of those children because they are the future of our nation.
Yes, they are.
So this is a must. I mean, this is something that we have fought for, all right, as veterans, all right, and we need to take care of the children. Like I said, they are the future of our nation. That child may be the one that's going to be taking care of us in the nursing home or the assisted living center, and it's up to us to take care of the children. It really is.
In a very few years, they're going to be raising their right hand, swearing the oath to defend this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. The general's wife, Miss Ann Brooks Hastings, Saber 6 Alpha, they live in Knoxville, Tennessee. She is heading this up, the Military Child Coalition. So if you see and hear anything out there about it, that's what it's about. And Miss Ann Hastings is the driving force behind it here in the state of Tennessee.
Well, AMVETS has 2 posts in Knoxville, and we'll see if we can get them posts in contact with her up there, and the rest of the Department of Tennessee can see what we can do to give her a hand there.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that. If a soldier is on active duty defending the country, whatever branch, and they've got a spouse and young children at home, they can only be effective as fighting men and women if they know their family, their spouse, and their children are okay back home. So that's just kind of a little sidebar there, and I wanted to plug while I had an opportunity.
That's all right. Well, glad you did.
Now, I had a quick question for Mr. Forgety. And this is a question that I've asked to about 3 or 4 of our guests already who are very active in our legislative services. But obviously, for the last 8 years, we know what's happened to the veterans and to our country. Ever since President Trump has been in the office, have you personally seen the effect of that changeover since he's been in?
I have seen, absolutely. I have seen that what I appreciate most is the attitude toward our service members, the attitude toward a more positive attitude toward the Department of Defense, and that's how I would categorize it. A more positive attitude toward those who did serve and those who are serving.
One of the greatest things that I experienced was watching the president's speech on the 4th of July.
Yes, sir.
And I didn't have a dry eye for that whole time. And that's never had a president express that much gratitude for the veterans who have served this country.
Exactly.
As he did there.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about. From time to time, I have the very distinct honor of participating in the 4th of July celebration and a Veterans Day program. You see, a veteran is someone who at some point in time in their life stood before God and the flag of this country, and they raised their hand and they swore an oath to defend this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and in so doing, they wrote a check payable to the United States of America in the amount of up to and including their life if their country needed it. And they did that so we could live and enjoy the blessings, the freedoms, and the privileges that we have here in this country, so we could have this radio talk show tonight. That's why they did it.
That's for sure correct.
If there was one thing, Mr. Forgety, there are prayer warriors out there who love to pray. If there was one thing that we could pray for you tonight and to continue to pray for in your fight to help these veterans, what would it be?
Pray for the attitude of this country, of this great nation, toward those men and women who have absolutely laid it on the line for the freedoms that we enjoy. And I don't mean to launch off into the vernacular, but I'm going to share another thought with you here. When folks are praying for those kinds of things that we all enjoy, and I'm reminded of a story about Great Britain's former Prime Minister, Tony Blair. You see, Tony Blair was a very, very strong supporter of the United States of America in the global war on terrorism. He supported us as a nation. He supported our fighting men and women. And it wasn't very popular at that time in his country, but he supported us anyway. And he was taken to task one day after a session of the British Parliament by one of the members of Parliament. And the guy said to Prime Minister Blair, Prime Minister, can you tell me, sir, just why is it that you support America so strongly in this awful war? And can you tell me, sir, just why is it you support America's fighting men and women like you do? And Prime Minister Blair, without hesitation, said, sir, as for my support for America, the measure of any country is how many people want in and how many people want out. And as for my support for America's fighting men and women, there are only two defining forces that ever agreed to die for you. One was our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. The other, the American GI. One died for your soul. The other died for your freedom. And when folks get on their knees at night and pray, they can remember that story.
That's powerful.
It is powerful.
Yeah, very powerful. Great to share that with you.
Man. Okay, Gordon, this is my new favorite show. We keep saying that. It just keeps getting better and better.
Oh, I know I know it was going to be a good show with the gentleman that we have on tonight. I mean, we're getting heavy hitters more and more on our show, and the information, like what he just he said about that British Prime Minister. I mean, that is really something. That's something I didn't know, you know. And God bless them over there. You know, God bless everyone and every soldier in the United States military. It's you know, they look out for us, and people just don't realize, you know, what they do and what we have done and what we have gone through.
Now, guys, do me a favor. Hold on one quick second. Let me run a quick PSA, and then I'll come right back to you guys, okay? Don't go anywhere. Hold on 1 second.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans and your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. Even if you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
Welcome to AMVETS Tennessee Radio, show number 10. We've got on our show tonight Ralph Land and Mr. John Forgety. And so far, the conversations have been undescribable. And one of you was about to say something before we went to that break. So feel free to take over and share what it is you were going to share.
Well, this is Ralph again. Just a little side note, when we were doing the Francis Keys story, it brought a real chill to me because we had done our family history and took it back to the Revolutionary War. And John Land, we had thrown through the military records. He was in the Revolutionary War. He was captured, and he was one of those prisoners on the ships. And somehow he escaped. And if you've ever seen that documentary on how those prisoners were treated by the British, most all of them died from either starvation or disease or whatever. But somehow he escaped. And then the military records showed later, when the Continental Congress gave pensions to those veterans, that he received $8 a month for the rest of his life. So just as a sidebar, I thought I'd share a little history there.
Well, you've got a proud background right there, my friend. You can really be proud of that.
Yeah, well, our family has been in most everything that's happened. My great-grandfather was great-grandfather was in the Civil War with his three brothers, and three of the brothers are on the south, and then he was on the north. So you never know how things turn out in war things. You know what I'm saying? So.
That's
anyway.
right. You got a proud military history there. You really do. You know, my daddy, he fought in World War II in the Pacific, and his brother, my Uncle Joe, he was in Europe. And as a matter of fact, he was with General Patton. He was one of the guys that rode on the motorcycle and taking orders to everybody from what Patton was doing. And when he came back to the United States after the war, I know this for a fact, he bought a surplus Army motorcycle, and him and 11 other guys, there was 12 of them, met up in New York City and rode them motorcycles from New York City all the way out to Los Angeles. And of the 12 of them, my Uncle Joe was the only one that made it. And he told us the story about it, that some of them crossing the desert, they died of heat stroke. And, the motorcycles back then weren't that great and everything. And their motorcycles died and everything. But he was graced by God, and he made it all the way to Los Angeles on that Army surplus motorcycle.
Wow.
Yep. As a matter of fact, he's the one that got me to riding motorcycles, and I had a Harley.
Really?
I rode on his motorcycle with him when I was real young, and I'll tell you, there's nothing like it. I loved it. I was hooked right then and there.
You were mentioning World War II and our fathers. I always wondered what my grandfather thought when he had 6 of his sons in World War II all at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 3 in the Pacific and 3 in Europe. So, but they all made it back, which was great.
That's great.
I think my dad had been messed up with his knee and everything, but he went through all the stuff in the Pacific and everything else, and luckily they all came back.
Yeah, I know my daddy, and he'd go to the store. You go to the store with him. If it said made in Japan, there's no way he'd buy it. No way.
My father was career military. an old farmer and career. Matter of fact, joined during World War II and ended up retiring from the United States Air Force. Of course, when he joined in World War II, there was no such branch as the United States Air Force. It was the Army and the Army Air Corps. And, of course, Dad joined the Army, and then when the war's over and the Air Force became a branch of service of its own, having been in the Air Corps, he transitioned and retired eventually from the United States Air Force.
Is that what got you into the service there, Representative Forgety?
Well, sure, part of it. I've always been family members. Both Dad's brothers joined at the same time. They were younger than my father, but they served during World War II. My dad's youngest brother, was on the SS Franklin D. Roosevelt when it was hit by a kamikaze in the Sea of Japan. He was got his father, my grandfather, to sign for him to join the Navy when he was 17, and of course was a very, very young sailor when that happened. So just a lot of history and a lot of that kind of service on both sides of my family. My mom's brothers were military veterans, and Dad's brothers, of course, my dad and his brothers are gone now. And my mom still has two brothers left, two gone, two left, and they were all veterans, and that was the thing to do, and as far as I'm concerned, still is. I was deployed to the Persian Gulf at age 58, and just and proud to go. Probably the oldest soldier in the Persian Gulf, or close to it anyway, but walking back from Chow one day, and I was at Bob Caldwell and with a lot of good folks, and walking back from Chow one day with a company commander and a company executive officer, and good, just delightful young men, young captains, both of them, and educated guys. The company commander was walking along there just chattering away, and a really, really good guy. He was a banker. And he said, you know, First Sergeant, I'm really worried about my dad. And I said, Captain, anything in particular? He said, well, you know, he's just getting older, and I thought, So he said he's just getting older, and I've tried to get him to exercise, and such as that. And about the third time, the captain said, my dad's just getting older. I said, incidentally, sir, if you don't mind me asking, just how old is your dad? He said, oh, he's 56. I said, gee, I gave him a snappy salute, and I said, gee, thanks, sir. He looked at me and he said, oh, I didn't mean that. Sir, I know exactly what you meant. But, gentlemen, it's an honor to wear the uniform. And if I had not reached the mandatory retirement age of 60, if they'd let me, I'd still be soldiering at age 71.
Yep.
Yeah, I know what you mean there. It's due to my injuries, they put me out, but I'd have still kept on going if they'd let me. But
absolutely.
You know, it's once you wear the uniform, it's a brotherhood and sisterhood that cannot be broken.
Exactly.
You know, and that's it. You know, it's just we all stick together, and we're all proud of each other, and we're proud of what we've done and do.
And incidentally, I would be remiss if I did not mention some other veterans some other legislators that were right in the middle of this effort. Representative Tim Hill from Upper East Tennessee, and Representative Joe Pitts from Clarksville, and some other veterans, Colonel retired John Reagan, and some other veterans out there that were all in there pitching. A number of others to try to get something done here, and goodness gracious, this help, and I appreciate their all their efforts and recognition and support and such.
Hey, Gordon, I got an idea.
What do you say?
Let's just take a very quick break, and because, again, there have been two words that I've heard over within the last 10 minutes, and it had to do with honor. And I just feel it necessary that we now play the old glory clip to honor that American flag.
There you go. Let's hear it.
Hold on one second, guys. We'll be right back.
I can't talk now. I'm on a radio show.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am the flag of the United States of America. My name is Old Glory. Look up and see me. I was born on June 14, 1777, with just 13 stars and stripes representing our first 13 colonies. I stand for truth, honor, and freedom. I help remind Americans of our history and our sacrifice. I have led our troops in every war: Gettysburg, the trenches of France, and the beaches of Normandy, Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, and scores of distant lands long forgotten. I remember because I was there. During World War II, I was raised over Mount Suribachi by 5 Marines and a Navy corpsman on February 23, 1945. 3 of the 6 men who raised me that day, Sousley, Block, and Strank, paid the ultimate sacrifice during the Battle of Iwo Jima. More than a decade later, I was in space with astronaut Neil Armstrong when he was the first human to walk on the moon, July 20th, 1969. Over 500 million people watching us on TV heard him say, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." As a silent witness to all of America's worst and finest hours, I enjoy nothing more than to wave in a deep blue peacetime sky. But my finest hour comes when I fly at half-mast to honor our heroes. My most difficult days are when I lie in the trembling arms of a grieving mother at the graveside of a fallen son or daughter. I remain a beacon for freedom. People travel from every corner of the world for a chance at a better life here in the United States. I have been burned, torn, and trampled on streets of countries we helped set free. I was raised again on September 11, 2001 at Ground Zero after the attack on New York City. I am here tonight with you and our brave men and women in combat at this very moment. Be proud of who you are and who we are together. Honor our heroes as I have honored you. My name is Old Glory. Old Glory is brought to you by the U.S. Military All-Stars. For more information about Old Glory, please go to usmilitaryallstars.com.
Well, welcome back to AMVETS Tennessee Radio, show number 10, where we are dedicated to bringing you the most up-to-date information about AMVETS Tennessee, including the who's, the what, the where's, the when, and the why. This show tonight has been brought to you by Post 100, Post 90, Post 22, Post 13, of course, our Tennessee Public Relations Officer, Mr. Gordon Mikitka, Colonel Jimmy Williams, and my company, Painter's Dream Productions. What a wonderful show this has been. And joining us tonight is Mr. Ralph Land, who is from Post 1776, who I'm hoping now he can talk a little bit about that post and some events going on. And we've got John Forgety, who is our Tennessee House of Representative gentleman. Thank you again for joining us. And one of the thing about that clip about Old Glory, and it's funny because between the Star Spangled Banner and Old Glory tonight, I think we've hit a grand slam home run as far as honor is concerned.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, same here. Thank you.
So, Ralph, tell us about Post 1776. You got any new updates on events for us, and then we can go back to Mr. Forgety after that.
Yes. Well, we started that. I think it was 2007, 2008. And we tossed around a name and everything else, and then finally we came up with, that was the time Jerry Reed was doing some stuff for music industry, and he was an advocate for veterans through the VA as one of their spokespersons. And Jerry had gotten sick and everything. Well, I'm from the music industry, and Jerry and I knew each other, so a lot of the people in the past, different artists, that said, oh, we're going to do this for veterans, we're going to do this for veterans, and nobody ever did anything. So I kind of baited him, and I was George Jones's drummer for 10 years, so turned around and I said, yeah, that's just another one of the artists going to say they're going to do something and never do it. Well, that fired him up, and he went ahead and did the album. And so, and all those proceeds went to the VA to help veterans and programs out there. So we got the idea of making it Jerry Reed Music City AMVETS Post 1776. And the 1776 came from Harriet Howard, who was one of our members who is now gone, and she was a Navy personnel person and a great writer and a great veterans advocate here in the state of Tennessee, and she'd take on the big wheels and everything else. So that's just a little bit of history about our post and what we've done, and we've really increased the membership over the years and got more active and everything else, and learned how to do some things within the guidelines of AMVETS. And, of course, everybody makes mistakes. We always do. But we continue on down the road of learning more and helping more and all the stuff we can do. We were very fortunate to get most of the awards from the state this past year. And that's only because our members are pretty, very active. Our commander, I used to be the commander, and then I'm now the vice commander, and Ron Bottomley is the commander. And he's doing an excellent job and a great show of leadership and so forth, and moving stuff forward. So we work together as a good team and doing everything to help out and going out to the different nursing homes and so forth. We do that once a month, going up to Fort Campbell. And recently we just went to the nursing home in Murfreesboro and got permission to go over there. So we're doing a lot of things active in the community, school programs and so forth on Americanism. And we're going to be doing a bunch more. And we have fundraisers and stuff that we do and try to get the education out there in ROTC. So pretty much we're involved in a lot of the stuff that AMVETS ask of their members to be involved with. So that's just a little summary.
I believe that I know you guys got 8 awards for your post. That's how active that post is. They got 8 awards at our department convention here in Gatlinburg just this past month, and they really do. They post 1776. They do a lot. They really do, and they have send out pictures. I get them from where they're visiting the homes, visiting veterans and everything. It's quite impressive what they do. It really is, and you should be proud of it, Ralph. You really, you guys are doing a jam-up job.
Yeah, it started off a little slow, but we've gotten it to where it is now, and been able to get more members in through one of the programs that the National offered the last 2 years was free membership for a year, which really helped us out. So that increased a lot of stuff for us. And of course, we're active in memorial things on Memorial Day and Veterans Day and so forth, and the 4th of July. So most of all the holidays we're pretty well active and all that. And we've got our own color guard and everything else that's also active and so forth. So it's we're doing a lot, and we're proud of what we're doing.
Now, I have Mr. Forgety back on. Does anybody have any questions or things for him, or even maybe Representative Forgety, maybe you have something which you haven't talked about yet, which you'd like to discuss?
I wanted to take a moment, if I could, and commend those folk that are on tonight, that are in the AMVETS and those service organizations, and for what they do. I know we just, as a matter of fact, Gordon and I have participated in a program or two in Etowah, Tennessee on the 4th of July, and Colonel Jimmy Williams there has done a great job with those involving high school students and youngsters in those type programs here in the area at home, at the local VFW post, American Legion, and those folks do a wonderful job. And it's up to us to tell the story. It just is.
Sure.
The percentage of people, gentlemen, that are out there today that have no idea what military service is like, is that percentage is very small. We were talking about that in Nashville. I was talking about it with a colleague, and the number of people, and then of course, now that we're an all-volunteer defense force, the number of people that have served is the percentage-wise growing smaller and smaller. So it's up to us to make sure the world knows. And those folks I just mentioned do a wonderful job of helping tell that story.
Well, thank you, John. It's Commander Williams at Post 100 there in Etowah. He does do a jam-up job over there. Him and I went together this year at the schools for the Americanism program, and
absolutely,
it's really a great job that he does, and I'm proud to know him, and he really does have his heart into taking care of veterans, helping veterans, and helping the community. I mean, he's really involved in the community, and for a man of his age, you'd think he'd be slowing down, but there ain't nothing going to slow Jimmy Williams down. That man just,
as a matter of fact,
Colonel,
I had a call from a family I don't know, a year or so ago, that had a death in their family, and at the 11th hour, they needed a color guard, and it was kind of close to time to do the funeral proceeding, and the family called me and said, we've got to have a color guard, and they hadn't really thought about it. So I just, first thing I did after they called me, I called Colonel Jimmy. I said, Colonel, we've got to get this family, and I gave him the name and phone number I gave to Jimmy, and I said, this family desperately needs a color guard. And of course, Jimmy said, when is it? And I told him, and it was like the very next day. He said, I'll handle it one way or the other. And he did. And he did it. Didn't really even know the family, but he did it because it was the family of an old veteran that wanted some assistance with the old gent's last formation at his graveside. So, I'm forever in Colonel Jimmy Williams' death. I just am.
Yeah, but he's, like I said, he's a good man. Him and I we traveled together up there to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and we've been quite a few places going for the AMVETS and for veterans in the state of Tennessee. He's, like I said, there's no slowing him down. There really isn't, and it's God bless him. It's
absolutely. Colonel Jimmy Williams and Gordon Mikitka do a great job for veterans statewide and for this area, and I am beholding to both of them.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, especially coming from you, sir. It's and with as much as you do for veterans in the House, I really appreciate your saying that.
Hey, Gordon. Hey, Gordon.
Yeah.
I have an idea. Let's ramp this show up. Why don't we put Kilgore on?
Yeah, I was going to say, we've been kind of rude to Mr. Kilgore. He's been sitting there waiting to get on the radio. Hey, Bill, come on, join the party.
Come on in, Bill.
How y'all doing, Ralph? I'm glad to see you on, and Representative Forgety, I appreciate you being on. You do some good things for us down in Nashville. Everybody was telling stories about their families. My family warrior ship goes from back into Scotland, part of the Murphy clan, and people didn't have last names back then. They were just a clan, and they had one valley of people that was more fierce warriors than anybody else, and they called them Kilmores, and that's evolved into Kilgore. And when they come here from Scotland, they come to the mountains in southwest Virginia until they found a place that looked like home. And my five greats back grandfather fought in the Battle of Kings Mountain, the first battle of the Revolutionary War that we won. And his name is on the monument at Kings Mountain there for one who fought in that battle. He wasn't a few of them, 200 or 300 maybe. And then from that, down to my dad and uncles, they all fought in World War II. My grandmother had 3 boys, and they was all overseas at the same time. And the 2 younger ones come back without any problems, but Daddy got hit after the Battle of the Bulge when he got into Germany, and they thought him and the other 3 guys he was with was dead, so they just left him. And he was in the 9th Infantry Division, and the 9th Armory come in behind him the next day and found him. He was the only one that's still alive. And he lived till he was 95 years old. He died in 2014. So I was raised on a VA disability check and been around military all my life. I joined in 1963. I volunteered for the draft. A lot of people now would have no idea what that is, but I served 2 years instead of joining for 3. And I back home before the people ever got started sending them to over into Vietnam, and I come back home, and a buddy got me to join the National Guard, and I stayed in it 24 years. And I wanted to run for AMVETS, and I transferred into the Individual Ready Reserve because I wouldn't have to take up the weekends that way, and stayed another 12 years. So I got nearly 39 years altogether, sort of like the first sergeant to my life. And then, when Ralph mentioned something about Jerry Reed there a while ago. Jerry Reed received the AMVETS Silver Helmet, which is the highest award that our organization gives out to people, and we done it for Americanism in his category. And it's so well known around the veterans world, they call it the Veterans Oscar. There's only been 4, I think, presidents ever received one, and when they would give one to a president, we do it in gold. And I got the honor when I was commander to present a gold helmet to George W. Bush. And I did it the morning that he done the speech about the invasion of Iraq. I was standing on his shoulder. About behind him, there's only 3 people on the stage with him when he made that speech about the invasion of Iraq. So I've been through some fantastic stuff, and just because I joined the military, I've been involved in a veterans organization and been able to do things that I would have never dreamed of in my life. Been overseas 10 or 15 times, and all of it with veterans issues, though not in combat. I never never was sent into combat, and I don't regret that. But I would have went had they needed me. In fact, in the Gulf War, got 3 letters following the RR that they needed my MOS. I was a motor sergeant. This thing was over so quick they didn't send me. But it comes down to our post. You know, we was in 3 parades on the 4th of July. There's 3 4th of July parades held in Sullivan County, Kingsport, Bristol, Bluntville. It's our county seat, and it's the only county seat in the state of Tennessee that's not incorporated. It's just a little village. And but we play bingo at the VA every month, and we've done a clothes drive here recently, getting ready to take a few bags of clothes over there. And tomorrow I'm going over to the Appalachian Fairground for a veterans fair that AMVETS and a couple other veterans organizations here and Walmart sponsoring to bring people in, you know, to get any kind of information that they'd like to have about how they can get services and that type of thing. So, and then in September we're going to put in the second Gold Star Family Memorial that's ever been put in the state of Tennessee. And someone mentioned a while ago about the Medal of Honor recipients that the only 2 Medal of Honor recipients that are still traveling and able to get around very well is Woody Williams, who was the flamethrower guy on Iwo Jima. He got a Medal of Honor for that, and he's the one that put this thing together, and his foundation puts in the first $5,000 to raise money to do these memorials. And, of course, he's trying to get them in every state in the nation before he dies. And I've been honored to be involved with that, too. We're going to do that one here in Kingsport. The only other one in the state is at the State Veterans Home in Knoxville. So anybody that's interested in putting in a Gold Star Family Memorial, I know who to get you in contact with.
That's great.
That's funny. He says that you said that you're a motor sergeant. That's exactly what I was.
Okay.
That's why we get along so good. We were both motor sergeants.
Yeah, I was a motor sergeant in the transportation unit. I had 137 pieces of rolling equipment, and my driver's license looked like I don't know how many cards it took. They had them fold-out things, and I think I had 4 of them. I had to be qualified on everything from a KW2 generator to a tank retriever.
I was in the artillery, the field artillery. Oh my goodness, this is something. I'll never forget. We had a 155 SP-109. And this is back in, I think it was like 73, maybe, yeah, I think it was 73, 74. And we had to transport them because they were sending them back to the depot because they were changing the barrels on them and making them longer. And on the lowboy trailer, we had 11 of the 12 tires blow out. It sounded like somebody was shooting at us. Bang, 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 bang. Oh, man, what a time we had there.
Yeah, them things are heavy.
Yeah, they are. Yep. Oh, and we were out in the middle of nowhere because, you know, we couldn't transport the things on the main roads. You had to go back roads. So it's, oh, boy, what a ball.
I'd like to interject something here real quick. Representative Forgety had brought it up a while ago on thanking some of the other legislators that helped on the property tax relief. And you know, because it got put on the governor's sales tax, that made it really sticky for a lot of representatives to go back home, you know, and finally get this thing worked out for us. And Rusty Crowe helped us out a bunch, and we had Senator Briggs and Lundgren, and you know, there was a lot more, like you said, about Joe Pitts and Senator Green and so forth. So there was a lot of the Hill brothers and so forth. So there was a lot of East Tennessee people that really came on board and helped us out, and it's so much appreciated. And, of course, we had some from Middle Tennessee that jumped up and stood up strong and hard, and also from West Tennessee. So it was a good effort on everybody's part, and we got it back to where it was. And I just really appreciate everybody's help.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't agree with Senator Norris when he put it into the Improve Act. In fact, I was standing in front of the Senate door when he come out of the session that day, and I hollered at him and walked over and started talking to him. He said, "I got some good news for you." I said, "What's that?" He said, "We put that tax relief bill into the Governor's Improve Act." I said, "Boy, I'll tell you what, that ain't good." But
yeah.
In the end, it was the only salvation we had. If it hadn't been in that, we wouldn't have got it passed.
Well, I don't know if I agree on that, but
down there,
we had it. It was kind of a melee that happened there towards the end with Senator Green, and they were pulling him away to D.C. and so forth. And we had the Lieutenant Governor and a couple other ones fighting us on it on the Senate side, but on the House side, we had it stand alone. And it's for Representative Forgety came in with the right thing on what he was trying to do, and the thing that what Norris did, he thought he was doing something great. That was terrible what he did, and it was just a shame. So we did some backward trading over that deal, and I was down there at the end, and I was getting a phone call from Rusty, and he was kind of like running things from behind the scene, and he did a great job. But anyway, got it back to where it was, so we appreciate that part of it. It's just kind of a shame.
The governor said he's going to veto it, so if he was going to veto it, what we had was put it in his bill.
Yeah. He threatened a bunch of stuff. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Better you guys than me.
I didn't like it either. That was the only shot we had.
Yeah, it was a bad situation, and of course, a lot of the representatives in the House and not too much in the Senate got up and stood anything, but the House side, a few got up and said it, but the House side, they really stood up and really were against it because it felt like that they were being just like the enemy in Desert Storm. They were taking people inside the mosque, and we couldn't do anything to them, and they were fighting from there. And it's kind of like holding the veterans hostage again. So there was a lot of representatives that stood up to that and made statements about it. So they were not happy. So it was a little bit of a tough battle, but little finagling here and there and everywhere, and we got it done. And
we got what we needed. We got what we needed out of it, Ralph. That was the main thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes that sausage grind gets a little nasty. You throw it off. If it comes out, you just hope you get what you need.
Yeah. So sometimes you have to compromise, and doesn't mean you're necessarily happy with the compromise, but you got to do what you got to do.
I have no idea how you guys keep all that managed. There's so many bills, so many ideas, so many things, so many rules, I just don't know how you guys manage it all. I would never want to be, I could never do what you guys do. It's much easier running a radio show and a website and audio video production than have to put up with it. I'd hurt somebody. I don't have the patience for it. I couldn't tolerate it. So how y'all do it without getting ulcers, I'll never know.
Well, they do a great job.
I chair a committee of the Tennessee County Commissioners Association nationwide. I chair the Veterans Committee for that organization, and we was in there, chopping at everything too, just like everybody else was. And every bill that we supported got passed, even though one of them went through the Improve Act, it still got there. And I'm going to go into the Tennessee County Commissioners Association in October. So I'll be in Nashville more than what I have been.
Yeah, well, I live here, so I'm there as much as I need to be. John's over in East Tennessee. He comes over a lot, and God bless all of them for doing the drives and all the work that they do. And everybody doesn't realize these legislators have a tough job, man, because they're hearing from so many constituents on so many different things and so many different bills. It's a tough job.
It is. It really is. It's at one time, this was back in '91. They asked me to run for a county commissioner. I said, no way. There is no way that I would do it. Because I was on the radio back then, and it's been that long time since I've been on the radio. But I was on the radio a lot back in '91, going against some bills that the county commissioners were trying to pass. And I said, and then they asked me to run. I said,
Well, I enjoy doing lobbying. I do it in Washington, D.C. for veterans, and I do it in Nashville, and I do it on our county commission or any place else I have the opportunity. But I enjoy doing it.
Oh yeah, it's now what I do and helping veterans and everything. I enjoy doing this. Believe me, I do. You know, if back then I was younger, I was working, I had a family that I had to take care of. There's no way I'd have time for it. But now, today, being retired, I can do what needs to be done to help veterans. You know, I'll go to Washington, D.C. My wife and I, we've been to Indianapolis 3 times for the American Legion, going up there, you know, and because their headquarters are up there, and meeting people in there over things that need to be done. And I have no problem with it. I have no problem getting on the phone. I'd love to get Donald Trump on this radio show. Believe me, I would. You know,
that would be awesome.
President Trump, if you're listening, I'm on the show. You know, we got a lot to talk about for veterans and everything. But this is, you know, times change. You know, Perry said he couldn't do it. When you get older, yes, you could. You know, your attitude changes. You find the patience to take care of veterans, and it's really a great thing to do. It really is.
I retired when I was 53, so I can do it full time.
Gordon, I have one goal, and my goal is to help AMVETS brag about what they're doing so that we can continue to grow the organization, and so that I just look forward to a day where somebody says, oh, I know exactly who AMVETS is.
Yes.
When I can hear that successfully, then I know we've done our job. And again, with the news that we have coming out next week, the doors are opening, and what makes this radio station different than your local radio station is the fact that we're not stuck by a zip code or a specific region. This can go all over the world. It can be if they have an internet connection or a phone, they can hear it. And we haven't even started pushing it. Yes, it's on iTunes. Yes, it's on Player FM. But there's so much further we can take this, like we were talking about with Jimmy about going to the Etowah station doing the 30-minute show, to having another 30-minute show on Cookville. All of these shows are all recorded, so we have the ability to take these 2-hour shows, turn them into 30-minute segments and pieces, and we can distribute these all over the country. So I know that this is just the beginning for this radio show, and the fact that we've gotten through 10 of them now, and we're having the guests that we are, and wait till y'all hear next week. I want to let it. I feel like it's Christmas, and I'm about to blow the biggest present. And I won't do it, Gordon, just out of respect for you. But, you know, you guys, this show has been an awesome show. I thank you guys for all of your time and your energy that you put in, not only to the veterans, but the fact that you've taken this time, these 2 hours, to be on the show. And Ralph, you already know you're welcome anytime. And Representative Forgety, if there's anything that you ever need to announce or you need help on, you just let Gordon know, and we'll have you on anytime. We have the shows now every Monday and every Friday. We are booked out to show 17 right now. And again, Gordon, I won't say anything, but what I will say is by next week we'll be announcing probably show 20 and 21, and the details of those shows are beyond belief. I mean, although, you know, of course, having the president on our show would be a personal, oh yeah. Oh.
Yes.
So it's not that, but the fact that we could have a representative from the House, we're getting closer.
Yes, that's right. That's right. I'll tell you, even the Vice President Pence, I'd love to have either one of them on, President Trump or the Vice President. They are both so in tune with the veterans and with the military, what's going on in the military. It's fantastic. It is about time. It's 8 years have gone by that we have been knocked out of, really, and now the president is thinking about our sacrifices that we have made, and the sacrifices that the military is making, for our country, and it's about time.
So if anybody who's listening to this show, if there's anyone listening right now, and you have access to anybody that you think that can help this show, please call Gordon's phone number, 423-506-2950. Let's get him on the show. We're talking about having shows on PTSD. We're talking about having shows about specific legislations, about specific situations. So feel free to contact Gordon and let him know, and we will be more than happy to get them on the show.
So there's a young man that just retired from the Army that belongs to Post 37 that worked in the White House during George Bush's administration. And he was a bag boy for the vice president. And he can tell stories about working on that job, but it's really something. He was with him when he shot his buddy down on that bird hunt.
Gordon, get him on. What a story that would be, huh?
Well, he wasn't really inside of him, but he was there, and helped take care of the situation. I think he carried a bag that had some kind of codes or something in it. He was an Army guy, that was assigned to work in that job. He didn't carry the red phone or nothing like that, but it was close to it probably.
Let me run two more PSAs, one commercial. We're going to come back to AMVETS Tennessee Radio in a moment, folks. Hold on one quick second so that we can pay respect to these public service announcements.
If you're a veteran looking to file for your service-connected benefits through the Department of Veterans Affairs, don't go it alone. AMVETS highly trained service officers stand ready to walk you through the process at VA regional offices around the country, helping you to navigate the complex VA system free of charge. With new presumptions for Agent Orange exposure and other conditions, AMVETS can offer you the advice you need to finally receive all of your earned benefits. In 2009 alone, AMVETS helped process more than 65,000 claims and appeals, securing more than $410 million in benefits. To find your nearest AMVETS service officer or to learn more, visit AMVETS.org.
Affordable, effective, reliable, and proven. Since 2001, Painter's Dream Productions has provided website design and audio-video production services. Since 2008, we've added social media marketing and search engine optimization to our portfolio of services. Our job is to take you to the next level. We have an A+ rating at the Better Business Bureau, and to see our work or for more information, visit us at paintersdream.com. Would you like a free consultation? Call 931-488-1002. Painter's Dream Productions, taking you to the next level.
Hey, what? Have you heard about the print bug? No? They're the greatest thing since sliced bread.
The Print Bug? They have gorgeous full-color banners at $4 per square foot. They print flyers, brochures, business cards, and custom trade show displays. With 15 years experience and printing for some of the largest corporations like OfficeMax and Staples, the Print Bug does it right the first time. Their quality and service is undeniable. Call 888-700-5863 or visit them at theprintbug.us.
Psst, hey, what? What are you waiting for? Call them now.
If you're looking for a way to show your support to our military men and women serving in harm's way, then donate new or used DVDs to AMVETS Task Force DVD today. Since 2006, Task Force DVD has provided millions of hours of entertainment to troops serving on the front lines free of charge. Through your cash or DVD contributions, you can share a little piece of home with our heroes serving around the world. To learn more about Task Force DVD and to become involved, visit AMVETS.org.
Welcome back to AMVETS Tennessee Radio number 10. We are in the last segment of our show. And Gordon, I've got everybody still on, so continue us through to the end.
Yes, John, it's what new bills do you think will be coming up to help the veterans here in Tennessee?
Well, we discussed one today, Gordon, that had to do with the similarity to the bill that was mentioned in Florida, and we're looking at that. And as I did not realize until we talked today that the state of Florida, as I understand, has a property tax legislation approach, a property tax relief approach, rather, that's congruent with the percentage of disability that a veteran, service-connected disability that a veteran has. And for instance, I'm 10% disabled, and that's hearing loss. Well, as I understand, if in the state of Florida, I would be eligible for a 10% property tax relief. In other words, down there, you don't have to be 100%. If you're service-connected and you have a certain percentage of disability, then we're going to look at that as an approach. I am.
Well, I want to thank you for that, because that's something that's, the veterans, they didn't ask for that disability. They went out. We all went out to serve our country proudly, and wanted to come home as close to normal as possible. It's, unfortunately, with what's going on over there in Afghanistan and Iraq, it's, boy, I'll tell you, we thought we had it bad in Vietnam. Boy, these guys, they really got it bad. They never know what's going to pop up on them over there. It's rough. It really is. And these guys, they need help. They really do. It's, thank goodness for the, people like Susan Peglow here in McMinn County having these things for PTSD, and down there at the Chattanooga clinics for PTSD. We need to do something to get these military personnel, the veterans, help.
The Veterans Court.
So that this 22 people a day dying in the United States of suicide that are military, killing themselves. I mean, that we want it down to zero. I mean, we need to help them.
That's a big problem, and I butted in there on you a little. I'm hearing more and more about the Veterans Courts too, dealing with youngsters. Well, everybody's a youngster compared to me, but dealing with soldiers that have some emotional issues, some PTSD, and that is very, very real. People that come back and they're changed and cannot help it, and it's just the price, a part of the price we pay for freedom, and they deserve a square deal when they get back.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah, we just had about a week and a half ago, a friend of mine and contacted me from California about a family in Gallatin, Tennessee, and the veteran up there, he was Afghanistan or Iraqi veteran and had 100% PTSD and wasn't getting the help that he thought he could get from the Veterans Administration, from the VA, and he killed himself. We've dealt with that and helping the family out and trying to get widow's pension and everything else going for her. And we got Home Depot going to try to help finish the roof around the chimney that's leaking and stuff like that. So there's all kinds of this that's going on out there, and can't stop it all. But the more we can talk about it, the more we can get it aired out to the public. Years ago, General Shinseki had said that, the VA can't do it all. It's going to take us. So, Cornerstone has helped out. We got a Brigadier General that's out of Clarksville that's helping out, and he does things with VBA, Vietnam Veterans of America, and do town hall meetings. So all different organizations are getting out there and trying to help one another to get out there and get the word out. And they've got clinics all around the state of Tennessee that if any veteran needs to go and get some help, they'll pay for those services and take care of the funding on it. Plus, we got the Vet Center, which is a great asset, and we've got a van that goes around all over the state. So the Vet Centers are really helping out a lot. I just wish we had more of that, and it's really helping a lot of people.
And they are, and they're very, very much needed. Our Veterans Administration officer here in McMinn County, Susan Peglow, does a wonderful job raising the public awareness